Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hi. Hi.
Hello.
Oh, welcome. My name is Pandora Scooter, and this is the Highland Park Arts Commission's first ever poetry and spoken word concert. And we'd like to welcome you to this concert. We're very excited that you're here and that we have 7 amazing poets and spoken word artists to perform for you and for our community here in Highland Park. Most of them are Highland Park residents, living here various amounts of time. The Arts Commission is dedicated to supporting artists who are local to Highland Park and also creating arts programming. If you grabbed a program, you will see on the back that there is a list of upcoming programs, a couple of workshops that are going to be really exciting and fun. And in this room, we're going to have the first ever performance of the Highland Park Jazz Ensemble on November 18th, which was just created, actually. So it'll be their first performance and our first jazz ensemble concert that we're putting on, which is very, very exciting. So before I continue, how are you feeling tonight? Great, awesome, that's terrific. So the idea of this event tonight was to celebrate the spoken and written word. And so we have a number of different poets and spoken word artists who will be coming to the mic to share their voices with us and from different perspectives on different topics. There's no theme for the evening. It's just self-expression, a celebration of self-expression, which is something that I think is super important, being a spoken word artist myself. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our first poet. He is a fellow Arts Commission member with me and with 5 of us who are on the Arts Commission. He's also a member of the Highland Park Arts Collective. I know there are a couple of members of the collective who are here tonight. He teaches Zen writing at Rutgers University as part of the program Aliru, editor of As Is So and So Press, and he came in 2nd place at the Princeton Poetry Slam, and I think you'll see why, because he's amazing. Please put your hands together for John Marin.
All right. Yeah, that 2nd place at the Poetry Slam, they gave me a choice of a prize, and I chose the canned ham, because I've been a ham like most of my life. So in kindergarten, I got kicked out of kindergarten because my mother taught me how to read before I went to kindergarten. So I would make all the sounds of all the machines, the cars, the animals, and Ms. Smith said, "Out, you're going home." So I've been sort of sounding off most of my life. So this piece I've been doing since probably 1975. I started doing it at parties, and it had something to do with Popocatépetl, and so it was sort of, it would end up with me erupting in some way, either dance-wise or verbally. I did it at the San Francisco Opera House, which you can see on Vimeo. You can just put John Marin Vimeo. I was sort of I had like aviator glasses and a silk shirt. It looked very yoga-esque. So I did this at the Princeton Poetry Slam, which was a little bit, off kilter for them, but they dug it. So tonight, we have a Water is Life exhibit coming up. The reception for that's on October 28th. There's lots of postcards over at the side. So I was thinking to myself, I'd like to, because it's a total improv, sort of a jazz scat on the alphabet. So I usually give myself a few cue words, but audience participation is highly recommended. So I ran through the names of like 95 Native American tribes. I'm from Iowa, so I often use Iowa. But like Klickitat, Tankawa sounds sort of Japanese. Yakimo, Yavupai, Hidatsa, Crow. I grew up on the Mississippi. So I'm going to probably channel a few Indian tribes. If anybody wants to add any sort of evocation, anything that you are inspired to say, that's part of the show too. So we'll see where this goes. Doink. Alashino no balaba, alin shiri boda bada, ABCDEFG, HGKP, element of the brush. Ebsina chono doshika, brush na tricasino baroslo. Abashi debidi, I'm going to recite the alphabet for you tonight. Oh no, oh there. But she don't know you can. Abacusy. I'm going to see the blue apple fall into the blue sea. Abus. Aboriginal. Allah Akbar, Allah Saka, Alibaba, Hallelujah, Apicus indefatigable, Apicus indilipitachinable, Fadishina Rapashine, Fatouche. I would like to have some fatouche. Gojimbotoshi, Goboshi, Alabachigoniga, Habunda, Kachanida, Kayabachida, FCTG, Abachi, elephant. I am going to recite the elements. I'm going to become an elephant. I'm going to become elephant. I'm going to put your dog about this there. Element. Lemon opaque. Element OPQRST object. Porque puerco PQRST. Oriasti. Yasha. Tapashik disciplisha Hamajika. ST Vivo. STV. Epasi Amrisilas. We are all on TV, do you know that? You see this lady in the back, Miriam Lefkowitz? She's filming us right now. We are on TV. FCPD Olo Waxy Zion, UV. UV la mashna lo bojidi. I'm gonna I see the red light on TV. I see the red light. Oh, now I can see all of you. Oh, yeah. Hello there. Okay, somebody yell out the name of a Native American tribe for me.
Lenape. Yep.
Lenni Lenape. Is Lenni Lenape in the house? Are there any Lenni Lenape in any way related to the Lenni Lenape? No.
I have a tiny fraction of it.
A tiny what?
Tiny fraction of it.
Nice. I'm about 128,000 Cherokee. My ex-wife's about an 64 Cherokee. And then our daughter, I don't know what she is. She's just a mix. So Cherokees. Any other Native American, Iowa, I grew up in Iowa. Any other favorite tribes? You been in any reservations? The what? Mohawk? Okay. Well, I grew up in Iowa, so I used to dance with the Blackhawks occasionally in the summer. And then my other family lives in Arizona, so the Hopi, the Navajo, the Pueblos, the Zunis. So we open our arms to all tribes tonight. As we go through the alphabet, I just want to pay tribute to the air and the water and the sun and all of your health. And I'm going to say W-X-Y-Z-A-Z-Y-A-Y-Z. I am going to say sayonara. I am going to say sayonadios.
You can make more noise for him.
What a beautiful way to start us off. Open us up to different sounds. Really an awesome, awesome, wonderful, wonderful journey of sound and meaning and meaninglessness, which is terrific. Coming up next, she graduated from Richard Stockton University with a degree in visual arts. She works at Rite Aid. Some of you might go there sometimes. And she bartends at Pino's, and she's a great bartender there at Pino's. And she has a twin sister, Jessie. Her name is Maggie Dominick. Put your hands together for her.
Hi, I'm Maggie. Okay, so I have a short one to start off with, and then the other two are really long. Okay, so this poem is called Otherwise. Eyes open to see the rainbow flag above my bed. I get up, tread through the house, their marriage bed behind a closed door. They spoon as their stresses from the previous day rust away. They are so in love. It might have been otherwise. Because of bigots and hatred built on lies, their love was only recently legalized. Supposedly I should excuse the years of taken rights, hate crimes, oceans cried in defensive fights simply because it could have been otherwise. This one's called Standing Out. And I've done a previous version of this, but I kind of changed it up, and it turned more from poetry into like kind of motivational speaking. It's not like super poetic, but bear with me. Okay.
Woo!
The first day of pre-K was a big day for me and my twin sister, for obvious reasons. But it was the first time I realized my family was different. The wide-eyed children looked my way, and I knew something was up. Why do you have two moms? At first I was like, oh my God, I have two moms? And everyone else has like a mom and a dad. This is weird. Okay. So, needless to say, heteronormativity was a lot for my 4-year-old brain to comprehend. So I went home that night and received the talk. No, not the sex talk, the honey, we're homosexuals talk. We're what you call gay. We love each other just like any other mommy and daddy could, and they did, and they do. More than most mommies and daddies I know. But that wasn't the last time I went home asking questions. Like when I first heard a kid call a TV show gay, but he meant like stupid. Little did he know how stupid he sounded explaining to a child of lesbians what gay really means. Or like when I first heard the phrase no homo because that boy's moral compass pointed to hateful of other people over loving of other men. Oh, or like when Katie and Amber were talking about how pretty Gretchen is, and Katie admired her for a little longer than the recipe of straightness called for, and so Amber called her a fag, and then Amber looked at me and said, sorry. Now everyone here knows what it's like to be singled out, right? And plenty of people know what it's like to come out of the closet to every new person they meet, but that gets more complicated when you're a child. But you do quickly learn when to say mom and dad where you'd normally say mom and mom. But to have to hide the truth about your loving family As if it's disgusting feels just like that, disgusting. It feels like when your stomach growls in a quiet room, or like when the gynecologist tells you to stoop down, because to hide the very love that brought you into this world, needless to say, it makes you feel bad. However, what I now know as a young adult is that there was never reason to feel bad, because, well, for one, when my parents say to me, "You were conceived right here in this room." It's weird, but not nearly as weird as it could be. I can also crack jokes like, "No, I really don't want to watch sports. I actually just left Gay Town to escape that." Or, "Of course I know how to use a drill. I was raised by lesbians." Or like, if I call a man daddy, it's really not that gross. Or when someone calls me crafty, I could say, "Yeah, I've acquired so much knowledge over the years. It's so stupid." Or, in that context, is it gay? No, stupid. Or like how my sister is the black sheep of the family, because only in my family would the odd one out be the straight one. But all jokes aside, what's really cool is that at 22, I can look into the eyes of Gabby, Gavin, and Juliana and say, "Your family's just like mine, and it's beautiful. Don't you dare let anyone tell you differently." Just like I can look into the eyes of all my LGBT plus friends and assure them they will have a family if they want one. Here's how my parents did it. Your children will be fine.
Woo!
This one is called Little Red in the Hood. I'll tell you a story of Little Red in the Hood. She's not like most, she's quite misunderstood. With a chemical imbalance, her psychiatrist's favorite, a novel of prescriptions never to be taken. On a cold Friday night, all alone in her room, her screen lit to show nothing, she assumed. For once she was wrong. Her presence was requested at a party on 4th Street. At first she detested. She read the message from a new number. "Hey, it's Ted. There's a party on 4th Street. You got any meds?" Red eyed her stash, second drawer from the top. I was saving those, she thought, to one day make my heart stop. She reasoned with herself, her demons surrounding. If I do bring these, everyone will think I'm astounding. Her 16-year-old brain couldn't fathom what might go wrong, so she packed a bag and she just wanted to belong. Her mother was asleep and didn't have a clue of what Red was ready to do. Her mother thought she took the pills, every last one, but she wouldn't know the difference. She didn't pay attention and Red was done. "I've got the goodies," she texted, feeling powerful within. She wore the tightest clothes she could find and topped it off with a grin. The whole way there, her heels clicked as she strutted with confidence. "Everyone's gonna love me," she thought, without fear of consequence. She walked through the door and quickly dumped the bag. The crowd went wild and took what they could grab. Everyone was so kind, thanked her with respect. "Red has the best goodies," they screamed, but Red started feeling regret. But Red smiled and bonded and talked to the popular kind. She did shots, hits, whippets. Everyone had a really good time. The night had passed to dawn, Red's new friends on the floor. She felt like dirt, but better than before. Red stepped over the teens, all of them in a trance, except for the hippie on the lawn who continued to dance. "So long, Little Red," she preached. They smiled, treat you like a granddaughter. Come Monday, they will again be wolves. Your so-called friendship will be slaughtered. She soon learned the truth, for Monday was here, and she was treated like nothing. This is what she feared. They all turned on her, used her, emotionally engulfed. Red realized she was facing the big bad wolf. Thank you.
How you doing? Doing all right? Are you stunned? You're stunned. My goodness. Okay. All right. Up next, versatile performer and dance movement fitness teaching artist, single mom living in Highland Park for less than 2 years. Please give it up for Fania Maria Tsakalakos.
I know. I seem to have come out of nowhere, out of thin air. Hey, I have a twin sister too, by the way. Thanks for coming to see me today. Hey, my name is Fania. Y'all know the saying, say it, don't spray it? You know the saying, say it, don't spray it?
Yeah.
Well, the past doesn't last, and I cannot clear it. But I'll tell you that as of late, I've been so removed from my creative spirit, been so out of place, been moving in such a slow, sluggish pace. I've been forced to be so quiet, shh, that I can no longer delay my words, which just may cause a romper room riot! I have to sprout, to spray, to spit it all out. To sprout, to spray, to spit it out. I have to sprout, to spray, to spit it all out. I just have to sprout, to spray, to spit it out. I groove, I move, I say, I spray, I groove, I move, It just might behoove me to stop right here, right now. Cease this shower of rhyme. Wow, well, I've committed no crime really in speaking my truth. But there is power in allowing vulnerability, in being unconditional love, in exploring potential and possibility. From what I see, I bet that can be quite a threat. For the truthless and the loveless are ruthless towards the ones who seek truth and love, who are truth and love. The feigning strong foes, the bullies, the actually wrong blows, really want to reign over those they claim to be weak and insane. And so, I may very well be meek, since it is truth I seek, and for which I speak. You may all disapprove of, or even reprove me for my spoken word, for ramblings that to you may appear absurd. I can't disprove anything anymore. I've no counter move. I can't even keep score. Shall I retreat into my fearful cave where all is mum? Play the part of modest mom. Ignore truth and integrity. Simply play dumb. So much for brevity. You can hear I am verbose. I am verbose as words roll and roll off of my tongue, as if this long recent linguistic and artistic lull has lended itself to an onslaught of speech overdose. I have to catch my breath in my lungs. And now I speak with a tongue that is so full. Lull, I cannot no more. Wait, that's a double negative, I'm quite sure, by the way. That's the trouble when you are contemplative, inquisitive, super sensitive, argumentative, non-conservative, seeking to be superlative and repetitive. And that's why I have been so tentative to be a representative of, a part of this spoken word art. And so, I repeat, shall I retreat into my fearful cave? Ignore this wave of creativity?
No.
My heart is heavy. My eyes at times tearful, and I am fearful. My soul, which feels so lost, is not an object of cost which I can replenish. Shall I succumb to expectations, to the everyday conundrum? Shall I squelch my soul's desire, my heart's aspirations? But source calls for a dire need to speak out loud. Speak out loud to this particular crowd. Indeed, God's grace has brought me to this very spot, this time, and this space. Yes, my friends, yes. I have been MIA. What can I say? Don't got much time now during the day, and at night, free moments are used to pray for the gray to go away, for the light to shine its ray. And once in a while, the universe will smile. And my calling to create, to perform, to participate in an art form is too strong and too great to continue this path of creative stagnation that's just so wrong, just so unnatural to me, is this artistic deflation and procrastination. And so, an opportunity comes along to muster up my inner supernatural self, whom I had left dusting for quite a long time on a corner shelf. So, a few Sundays ago, though rather unrehearsed, I plunged through one after another of original verse at Arts in the Park Street Festival show in Highland Park to break what seems to be a life curse. And so God has begun to reverse this roadblock I've been stuck on. The time without rhyme has gone by for way too long. Tick-tock, tick-tock, roadblock, I'm stuck. Tick-tock, roadblock, I'm stuck. I declare in the muck of monstrosity, I've managed to uphold enough level of love, openness, desire, and curiosity to give my God-given gifts to others, to my human family, my sisters, and my brothers. And so I dare say I did my best to uplift and inspire that day. And now I try again today. What can I say? I feel my own soul lifting up higher and higher. My inner fire cannot help but ignite. And my creative urges are taking on a brand new flight. So audience, stay tuned for more verbal and oral art, more tunes and more rhymes as my courage rises and climbs to uncharted charts. I've got more than 9 lives and more lifetimes than you can count, and much more talent than for which I can even account, because God is so giving. And I'm better off simply forgiving and moving on and grooving on. My heart is so huge and so strong, more than I'm sometimes willing to admit. And this is actually why I have yet to ever quit. That's it. That was long. So long. Can I get a rhythm from the audience? A slow rhythm. The world is on your side now, sugar. The world is on your side. The world is on your side now, sugar. The world is on your side. Take a look at your pride and dig a little deep inside. I said the world is on your side. When everything's gone gray now, baby, just wipe the tears away. I said when everything's gone gray now, baby, just wipe those tears away. Leave your worries aside and keep your heart open wide. I said the world is on your side. On your side. Whoa, I said the world is on ya. It's on your side. Keep your heart open wide. On your side. Whoa, said the world is on your side. Thank you very much for indulging me.
My, I'm just going to stand back here and let the heat. If anybody's cold, you might want to come towards the front. It's very warm up here. Give it up again for Fania. Coming up to the mic now is a woman who's been a 7-year resident of Highland Park. She's been writing poetry since she was a teenager, and she loves to laugh. Give it up for Tanisha Jacob.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Tanisha.
Oh, you can say hi better than that.
Hi, Tanisha.
My name is Tanisha, aka Ms. Kier, and I'm going to be doing a couple of poems tonight for you. So, this one I'm going to do first is entitled Poetic Verses 3, an ode to poetry. This one is paying homage to many of the poetic greats, as well as some of the poems that I've written over the years. I wonder if Nikki Giovanni would be ego-tripping because I'm beautiful. I want to be a phenomenal woman like Maya Angelou. I've been through the struggle, and like an eagle, I will rise. Langston Hughes had the worry blues, but could he relate to that blues man playing? Because I sing and I've danced to the songs of life with their sweet, sweet melodies. Paul Lawrence Dunbar said we wear the mask, but the question I want to ask is, what's your perception of deception? My expressions are creative reality. My mentality is that of an old soul. Lucille Clifton paid homage to her hips while my lips reveal poetic revelations passed down to my fingertips. I can't be anyone but me. See, I too dream and I too have a destiny. My fantasy turned into an amazing reality, poetically speaking, seeking truth, looking back at the days of my youth. If I could turn back the hands of time, I'd join that jazz procession, and then I'd follow with the hip-hop procession, because my poetry is a lesson learned. For the love of hip-hop, I speak to the streets with a hood prayer when I think of those incarcerated, some doing bids of up to 30 years, singing a prison song. Life has not always been easy, but if you just come journey with me, you will see God's creation. And know that in the midst of my storms, I am blessed, and because of His mercy, I am forgiven. I be poetry, and I am no one other than Tanisha. I tell it like it is with the public service announcement because I'm so sick. But my eyes have seen, and I'm realizing that I'm a queen fulfilling her dreams. I kick verses with no curses like Heavy D, so I smile because of the rain, my pain is eased. Out comes the sunshine, my smile shines bright as the stars in the night. And that was Poetic Verses 3. The next one is called The Jazz Procession. I wrote this a couple of years ago when my mom used to live in D.C., Chocolate City. Those trumpets were blowing, music was flowing, reminiscent of the days of Miles Davis, Charlie Parker, and all those jazz greats. Had a vision of Ellington and his band. Ellington was not a street. Dizzy Gillespie spoke to me through the trumpets. The sounds were melodic and hypnotic. As they walked down the street, I joined in the procession. I wanted to know where they were going. I asked the member in the band where they were going. Told me to a land that's free. Told me they were going to the real home of the brave before we were slaves. That jazz band played and played up the block and down the street. As they played, they made the music come alive as cars rolled by, tooting their horns to the vibe. That jazz band was thriving, taught me a lesson about the music of the players within. It was a history session. As I joined that jazz procession, dancing and returning to my roots. As I joined that jazz procession that was moving steadily down the street. And that was Jazz Procession. The next one I wrote for the love of hip-hop, because I love hip-hop. Real hip-hop, that is. Not that mess they got going on. You have to Google what you're talking about, because I can't. But anyway, this is my ode to love of hip-hop. I wrote this poem for the love of hip-hop. Self-expressions, lyrical gifts with twists. I'm like the quiet storm born unique, not the norm. I wrote this poem for the love of hip-hop. Tight beats drop classic albums like Nas, Go Cop. I can't stop, because I love hip-hop. I wrote this poem for the love of hip-hop. I'm missing Biggie, dig me? What happened to true artistry within the music industry? Now flow with me and check out how hip-hop meets poetry. See, KRS-One did my philosophy, and X-Clan taught us about our ancestry. Know your hip-hop history. We be kings and queens, so live your dreams. I wrote this poem for the love of hip-hop. True inspirations of a poetic sensation with high expectations of greatness. I wrote this poem for the love of true hip-hop. I'm taking you on a journey with me through poetry, imagery, and creativity. Welcome to my world, because I wrote this poem for the love of hip-hop. It seems like these days originality has become a fantasy, and that's a tragedy. Substance is lacking, and buffoonery nowadays is attracting, and I'm amazed at what this new phase of our culture has turned into. But I will rep for the days of old when hip-hop had soul before it became MIA. I wrote this poem for the love of hip-hop. You know, it's for the love of hip-hop. The next poem I wrote is called American Flag, and I wrote this a couple of years ago, but I feel it is prevalent in today because of this Pledge of Allegiance crap nonsense. So I'm gonna keep it real. So this is American Flag. I pledge allegiance not to the American flag. This flag that's supposed to stand for freedom and justice. Can't trust this, like Public Enemy said. This red, white, and blue, who knew? This flag, not 50 stars, but 50 scars of my people. My people hung from trees, bloodstain drips upon the leaves. The revolution be, one day we be free. This flag does not stand for unity or equality, the roots of bigotry within my history. Amen. Racism at its core, love, not anymore. I pledge allegiance not to this flag for which it stands. One nation, not under the Most High, no liberty, and justice is not for all. And that was American Flag. This last piece is called I Be Poetry, the remix, because sometimes I remix my poems, because I figure if an R&B or hip-hop artist can remix a song, I, Tanisha, aka Miss Kier, can remix a poem. So this is I Be Poetry, the remix. I be poetry. I be poetry like R&B, hip-hop meets soul like Flowetry. I be poetry. I be poetry, floetic, eclectic, respected. I be poetry. I be poetry like Africa, born in America. I be poetry. I be poetry jazz like Billy, Ella, Duke, and Miles, because I be poetry. I be poetry like my generation, this generation, and next generation, and inspiration. I be poetry. I be poetry, soul for the young and for the old. I be poetry. I be poetry, beauty in the eye of the beholder, wisdom as I grow older. I be poetry. I be poetry, reality mixed with fantasy. I be poetry in Ms. Kier motion because I be poetry. And that was I Be Poetry, the remix by me, Ms. Kier. That's all I got for today.
Yes!
Yeah!
Awesome! So awesome. She left the room, so I can't It's really awesome. Give it up for her anyway! Awesome. Oh, so I was supposed to say this at the beginning, but I didn't, and then I heard someone's phone go off. You should turn off your phones, you know, and your devices that vibrate and make noise. It's just a good practice, as you know. It's a good idea. Just unplug for while you're here, you know. Enjoy some, you know, live people time. Yeah. The next live person to come up here is a poet, AIDS researcher, and troublemaker. Please Put your hands together for Sam Friedman.
Should be. Yeah. And for my first act of rebellion, I'm going to try to time this, except it's not keeping the right time. Piece of equipment. There. Now, it's going to be a little bit different. My drummer is different. I've been working lately some with a group called Jewish Voice for Peace. And I've been thinking what it means to be Jewish. Nothing I ever thought about much when I was young, like around 60 or something. But here's something, a poem I wrote called What is an American Jew? Our grandfathers worked as tailors, union organizers, or in rural communes where anarchists and communists battled relentlessly about ideologically correct procedures to slaughter chickens. But that is history. Now, if you tell us you visited unmet relatives in the old country, saw grandparents' homes or ancestral temples, we smile at your happiness while our minds peck hopelessly to escape their shells, searching for any kernel of kinship, while our stomachs run headless through lifetimes bereft of kin. If we visit a chicken farm, we become brooding hens, dream for months about the view from inside a Nazi cage, eating a few pellets a day, waiting to be plucked, sliced, gas roasted. We try to forget by refusing to forget, by imagining Israeli relatives who may not exist, by sending money and weaponry to enslave a people whose lands these relatives now covered, now in cage. At our best, we are prophets, Noahs in a storm of lies, who open chickens' cages, who invent slogans from ill-remembered old country struggles and the Book of Moses, who argue incessantly, but who chant loudly with the brooding chickens. All power to those in cages. All power to those who make eggs. Of course, finding that this stuff's in one of my books. I've got around 10 different markers in it, so I will try not to get too confused. Okay, here we are. The second one on this Jewish theme. Echo empty. When my parents' walked towards their ships to America, long decades before I was womb evicted into the light of a war-wrapped world, they left families, synagogues, mezuzahs in their Polish, Russian, German town which now echo empty of their traditions. Now, the ever-reverent heirs of the Nazis, of the Roosevelt who did not bomb the trains, and of the later Wallace who blocked the school doors to kids who were not white, praise families, praise church, praise children, praise kitchens. Towns echo empty of jobs, echo empty of compassion, echo empty of solidarity. Ovens are heating again. think I'll dedicate that one to the Donald. If you thought some of those images were dark, here's something called A Few Years Down the Road. As she huddles, lorn, unpetted, where she saw her people die, a lonely cat spits mass defiance at a glaring acid sky. But the stars stare sullen, sulking at her stricken, steaming earth, and their tears fall fast and flaming through the brownish purple sky. There are no human hands to pet her, no people's ears to hear the roar of ceaseless purple gale winds or the crashing of dead walls, and no skin to feel the dropping, the drop, 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 dropping of the green, brown, glowing acid rain. Now, even I can't keep up that kind of mood too long. About 45 years ago, which for some of you is hard to imagine, I started work on a book about Teamster rank and file activists. And here's a poem I've never read before called Fieldwork, based on that. It's not that old, it's actually quite recent. I listened in wonder when Alex first told of bobtailing his load from P&P to Tarzana, where John T. recalled his years being dispatched from the hiring hall to haul doubles from the city of industry to West LA, where Manny Lavastida moaned about breakable barns that stole the locals' jobs. Within a year, I could toss these terms of truckers in the daily class struggle in their lives like a juggler's balls. 1, 2, 3, even more, the air scintillating to the flying light of my rhetorical bullshit. Rhetoric devoid of the transferred pallets, pothole-shaken kidneys, and daily harassment by dispatchers that made their lingo sick. By the way, my timer ain't working. So Pandora, if you'll tell me about 3 minutes before I'm supposed to shut up, I'd appreciate it.
Alrighty.
This is called Real Estate. It's a local Highland Park poem. Not what you think. Trees stretch their limbs black against the blue pre-sunrise sky on this hilltop where I live. As I walk down the blocks towards the river bridge 30 miles from the ocean shore, I wonder when the wave lines will stretch to where. Here is Aaron's home, where this peacenik mathematician reads histories of the decline of civilizations. To reach his door, I must climb 6 feet or so of stairs. When will the waves tickle the street before them? When will they moisten his lawn, mildew his rugs, submerge his roof? Every day I take the train to Manhattan, a train atop rails that soon will be soccer fields for gamboling crabs. I emerge from rail tunnels to a Penn station whose Madison Square Garden may see dolphins parade in victory at their conquest of this land. As I ride the elevator to my office 7 stories up, I fantasize about commuting by motorboat, oceanfront doorstep to water-gilt Winson. Maybe fishing from my office, hoping for some bass or flounder, while hoping against hope my hook doesn't snag some remnant bones from the ruins of Katrina's yet to come. Yeah.
You have about 3 minutes.
Okay, I'm going to go then to my last 2, if I can find them. But if anyone wants to buy any of these chapbooks or books, just see me afterwards. This is called Enough. Somewhere perhaps in the desert of Iraq, or perhaps in Palestine or the Afghan hills, amidst the cacophony of shells, the reek of boiled off flesh, somewhere a voice awakens, a voice in Arabic and English, a voice that speaks in every tongue, that utters, enough, no more, a voice of utter empathy that fills the world as billions join its cry, enough, no more, as armies refuse to flay their fellow flesh, as workers turn worklands to temples of revolt, as rulers tremble when none obey, as the earth begins to heal. So we win, then what, right? And this is called After on the Way Thereafter. After the heartbreak house of fighting, and after the fire next time, after the parties, the toasting and cheering, when none will bewail that capitalism has been erased, we will build our global city like a flower from the ashes, with its roots suckled and fed in waters by the local and daily and real. One petal will be the friendships of work time, another our neighbors as we talk and we share. Those who sew diapers, those who pin them and change them, will share with the planners, will help shape the towers, the basement foundations, and the neighborly labor of digging and building our city anew. And so, in the morning, I may scrape out a waste dump, figuring out how with my pals on the job. In my 2 p.m. gig, I may write a paper on AIDS, or hug and console a stranger or friend. My evening, perhaps, puts our heads in the oven as we clean a community stove, or I may weave a poem, or rest over long, or whatever seems needed and fun as we build our embraceable new global city from the petals and rootings of dreams. Thank you.
Oh, wow. How you doing? You doing all right? Yeah? It's amazing what happens when you get people in a room together. It's totally amazing. I just want to let you know a couple of things before we take our intermission. So this event is sponsored by the Highland Park Arts Commission, which is funded by the Borough of Highland Park. And everything that's happening here tonight is because the Borough Council people decided to support the arts in Highland Park. Yeah. So, and it's been an amazing year. 2017, it's going to continue to be an amazing year, and I think it'll continue into 2018. Cross my fingers and all that good stuff. Our council liaison, Stephanie Kim, is here, and so during an intermission, feel free to say hello to her and give her a big thanks for this event and all of the events the Arts Commission is able to put on, because the Borough Council believes that the arts are integral to daily life and important for a community to grow. And really, they have prioritized the arts in a way that hasn't been done in recent history here in Highland Park. So I personally feel extremely grateful to the council and to the council men and women who have voted to approve our budget, basically, to just get it down, nuts and bolts. Money. It just comes down to money. But so that's really jiggy and really awesome. And if you think it's jiggy, then if you think events like this are great and you want to see more of this, please reach out to Borough Council people and let them know you came tonight and that you think it's really awesome that we're here doing this. Or you can reach out to me. My email is in the program, and all of the Borough Council members' emails are on the website for hpborough.com, org, net. Anybody know? Gov? Okay. HB Borough, B-O-R-O. Don't know why it's spelled that way. .gov, probably. Anyway, so we're at our intermission. We have a couple of amazing poets who are coming up after the intermission, so make sure to stick around. We have goodies and refreshments for you to enjoy. Please partake of the refreshments because I don't want to take them home. And also, we're being televised by HPTV, so anybody who's missed the event is going to be able to see it televised on HPTV, which is super awesome and exciting. It's channel 15 and channel 44 or something like that. And it's hpborough.com. I should know that, but I don't. But now I do, for the time being. So talk to somebody that you didn't come with. Say hello to one of the poets. We're going to take about a 7 to 10 minute break or so, and we'll come back and have an amazing second half. Give yourself a round of applause. Find your seats, find your seats, find your seats. Okay. Did you have a nice break? I'm a mom. I'm a single mom. And my kid learned very early to be extremely enthusiastic about her responses to me. So if I said, "Did you like that movie?" she'd say, "Yes, Mama." And I said, "Did you like that movie?" She'd say, "No, Mama." But at least I got to hear it. Because I'm not into mumbling. I don't understand mumbling. I want to hear you. I want to hear what you have to say. I don't care if I don't agree with you. I want to hear what you have to say. And that's how I feel about all these amazing artists who are up here tonight, talking and saying what they want to say and being able to hear it. It's just awesome. Which is, one of the reasons to have a sound system too, which is cool.
Yeah. All right. Sound system. Yeah. Go sound system.
Okay, so little bit of feng shui. It's not really my people, but I can claim it because, racism. Okay, so coming up to the mic now is a writer and disability advocate. She mixes authenticity with a bit of sass. Would you please put your hands together for the amazing Allison Baldwin?
Unlike most of the other fabulous poets that were up here before me, I do not have books. I have a phone with my work on it. Yeah. Is that good? Yeah. All right. Great. So I'm going to read, depending on time, Pandora, if you could prompt me before the end, that'd be great. 4 or 5 poems for you. I'm going to start with a short one. It's called Racism. Funny enough, Pandora was just mentioning that. And I wrote it in response to the AME shooting that happened about 2 years ago, I think now, when Dylan Roof went into that church and decided to join a prayer group and then shot up all of the people in that prayer group. And at the time, I was in grad school, and a lot of my friends were people of color and are people of color, and we're dealing with the aftermath of that. And I was thinking about what is the white person, particularly the white man's place in all of that, and what can we do to be better allies for our brothers and sisters who don't look like us. Yeah. So this is my response to that. Racism is the white man's Voldemort, always afraid to say its name for fear that he will see himself echoed. For he does not want to admit that brutality can be, has been, will be, unless he chooses otherwise, done by his pure hands. He does not want to admit that purity is a lie, wrought in arrogance, ethnocentricity, and a nationalism cheated. He shoots men, innocent, with stolen guns, and burns places of worship, calling them acts of God. So that was the first piece. And the second piece I'm going to read for you is called The Vantage Point of Sitting. And I wrote this piece when I was in my last semester at Teachers College, and my friends and I were putting on a spoken word event, and the theme was leaving a legacy. And I was thinking about the type of legacy I wanted to leave, and the type of message that I wanted to give to people. So this is what came out of it. If you're lucky, they come at you from all 4 corners. One from the front, eye contact is quick, and still 5 seconds seems like a lifetime. How much can you discern from somebody's quietly upturned smile? Or maybe they look at you with a question, asking, how much do you know? What have I given away? And if I look at you too long, will my secrets you betray? From behind, someone is measuring the muscles in your back, the trail of your spine, wondering, who would create a body like that? What does it take to live in a body like that? Time, patience, crying behind closed doors, and the quiet acceptance that this is only temporary. From the left, those are the ones that want to know you, but fear that you already know more about them than they do. And to be honest, this is a fear that's partially true. The first thing I do when I meet someone is undress them with my eyes. And no, I don't mean imagining them naked under their clothes. Although, That has happened a couple of times. You see, when most people study a body, they get as close as they can. After all, it's only natural. Remove the space so that there's only a breath between you. But you substitute living poetry for a single line, a minute word. My body has taught me that there's nothing wrong with a little distance. I've learned to practice resistance, delay my gratification. I watch them when they're not looking, grasp at the stories they think are well hidden, because they are, to the untrained eye. But I've had a lot of practice in covert observation. Don't think for a second that your shadows have gone unnoticed and your actions wasted. I've already seen you walk into the room. From the right are the ones that don't dare come any closer. I've dealt with them a time or two. And better yet, they've dealt with me. We've agreed it's best to disagree and leave each other be, because if you aren't adding anything to the garden, then all you become is a parasite, leeching the delicious nectar of someone else's purposeful life. And the best thing to do with blossoms on the brink of bloom is to let them alone and give them breathing room. So I sit and wait, immerse myself in the task of grounding my own roots, because we all owe each other the right to choose the ways our narratives are viewed and put to use, the right to untainted growth. I sit and wait for your poetic emergence. I sit and wait for my eventual immersion. Because, darling, I already saw you walk into the room. I sit and wait. Because, darling, I already saw you walk into the room.
Apartment 1B.
And for any of you who don't know, I recently moved into the building that's right next door to this one. And I live in the senior center housing authority building right next door in a studio apartment in the back corner in a hallway. And I've been there for a couple of months now, and for the first time I've been living on my own without any roommates, not in an academic institution, not in a dorm room, not with my parents. And I started thinking about the mundane things that we do to create a life for ourselves when we live alone or when we're transitioning into space. So this is what came out of that. And it's in 4 parts. 1, I have become skilled at drinking coffee during late hours. Tell me it's okay to order delivery for a 3rd night in a row. I live in a 1-room efficiency, a corner in a hallway, a backdoor getaway. I can escape relatively unseen. I'm still not sure if that's a good or bad thing. Time will tell. These days, showering serves a 2-fold purpose. A chance to clean the dirt from under my fingernails, a change of scenery. I wonder how many times someone has looked at a bathroom wall searching for a roadmap. I cook to pass the time, and when I finish my food, put the trash and recycling into separate containers. A small price to pay for the feeling of importance. Our world seems to have chosen apathy over compassion. I keep wondering if Ali Sheedy's character was right. When you grow up, your heart dies. I don't believe that, and I don't think she did either. 2, I'm 28 now, so I guess it's time I got my shit together. How many times I've heard that? Okay. Luckily for me, I know exactly where it is. The closet in my bedroom at my parents' house hasn't been cleaned in a century. Underneath the Barbies with their heads cut off is a box full of poetry. I save letters. in the envelopes they came in. It's the first example of poetry I ever understood. I think I got that from my grandmother. 3. A few years ago, I spent the summer studying Adrian Rich. I spent those few months writing poems for a man a decade older than myself. I wonder if he thinks of me. Somehow, I know he does. You can't stop the appearance of a kindred, even if it upsets you, no matter how hard you try. The universe does not have a monopoly on understanding. 4. Sometimes being a woman means lying on the floor, naked, arms outstretched, waiting for the walls to talk to you. Other times, it means making the first move. I remember helping my grandmother put on her shoes. She never let me leave her house without saying I love you. I didn't call her. Sometimes being a woman means lying on the floor, arms outstretched, naked, waiting for the walls to talk to you. She speaks to me sometimes. I live in a building with people between the ages of 50 and 80, and they don't talk much. I wonder if it's true. When you die, your heart grows. And this one's the last one. Okay. So this one is called Known, and it was actually one of the first pieces that I performed publicly. I performed it at my grad school, and it's probably the most personal piece that you're going to hear tonight, probably my favorite that I've written to date. And it includes some Beatles lyrics, so there will be a little bit of singing, so here we go. Before I was a known writer, I was a known singer. The first Beatles song that I ever learned was Yellow Submarine. We all live in a yellow submarine, a white yellow submarine, a white yellow submarine. And the band begins to play. But at 12 years old, I am not sure who they are playing for. I am simply playing. I am writing my name on fence posts and oil paints and using the back of my mouth to travel to countries I know not of. I can try them on, because I've always wanted to. Now's my chance. And they reciprocate this need to see what they do not have and memorize the shapes of the granted they take. Before I was a known writer, I was a known singer. The second Beatles song that I ever learned was Ticket to Ride. She's got a ticket to ride. She's got a ticket to ride. She's got a ticket to ride. And she don't care. I am 14 now, standing in front of crowded silhouettes, bodies twisted and not like theirs. I have never liked this body that I am in. The one that moves in ways different from his and hers, the one that is chained to itself. There is not much beauty here. Some of us were not meant to be beauty, but instead to create it. At 14, all I want is a place where I am not ugly. It will take me until 26, or maybe longer, to realize that the very place I am searching for is the same I am so desperate to leave. She's got a ticket to ride, and she don't care. I am running toward, but it is not a race. It is only me, meeting myself somewhere. I will know it when I see it. Don't you know it's gonna be alright?
This is making so much noise. Stop making so much noise. Sorry. Okay, thank you, Allison. Thank you so much. Coming up to the stage now is a woman who combines art with activism. You might have seen her postcards for a gig she has tomorrow called Agitate, which is celebrating 15 years of poetic action with the group P3, Poetic People Power. She is also an actor and a filmmaker, and she's focused some of her work on climate change. Please put your hands together for Shetal Shah.
Hi, everybody. Hey. All right, I like that response. Everyone knows I like food. That taste buds turn sideways, can't stop the flavor parade, surprise taste after the aftertaste that pops then lingers a little extra long on the tongue kind of food. Yeah. But I still can't understand one thing. What is the cronut? Is it a donut with an identity crisis? A croissant gone rogue? A secret tryst? As if Munchkin culture needed a facelift. Is the croissant being French the donut's muse, or does the donut inspire the pastry to break the rules? And how, dare I ask, do they even fuse? Fried dough, I know, and sopa PS2 covered with honey and whipped cream. Donuts topped with sprinkles and vanilla frosteds, I understand. Even croissants filled with chocolate and almond marzipan. But the cronut? What is that? Am I even saying it right? Is it fried or baked? Is it yellow or golden brown? Is it soft and crunchy when you take a bite? Oh, hold up, wait. Is the inside white? Oh, the intriguingly diverse Franco-American blend driving foodies downtown from all across the state. It's an identity clash being so multifaceted and mixed. Those foodies, they do know that the French cruller already exists. Celebrity status has scads of cultured folk waiting for hours lined up around the block. And not for the rain exhibit at the MoMA or Shakespeare in the park. For a bite into what? I mean, is it battered in beer? Does it ooze of champagne? For that long a line, it better maximize my ROI. At the very least, tap dance in syncopated time, or sing Italian opera, or breakdance in the street, play jazz on a trumpet by the subway underneath my feet. No? It doesn't nourish me this way? Oh, wait, let me get this straight. I get 3 bites of this cronut after 2 hours online and Facebook bragging rights for a day? What is a donut doing hanging out with a French tartine anyway? One lift of her flaky folds exposes a crescent moon too frivolous for a ring. And why can't I wrap my head around this food as culture thing? My ignorance is my shield, that's just how I engage. This chick avoids fads like the plague. I prefer my classic tried, true, and tested entrees, organic and natural as the day my ancestors were born. I know, it's time to crumble, humbly follow the trail, get hip to the pack, lined up for a taste, but I like that right now I can pronounce all the food on my plate. So what do? My dilemma remains. The puzzle is missing a piece. The burden to know yet remain cronut-free escalates by the day. In a moment of weakness or perhaps lack of sleep, I Google and let my shields down. I type the letters, and as quick as I click, I see that circle gone haywire spinning around. Yikes! images of a crow. Oh, wow. Thank you. So as Pandora mentioned, I'm a part of this group called P3, and we've been around for 15 years. We have a show tomorrow. We're sort of doing a retrospective of the last 15 years, and we pick issues that are happening or that are about to happen in the world that are going on, and we write things about them, and you know, it's a really great group. So a bunch of these poems are going to be from some of the past shows, and I'll leave it to you to figure out what social issues you know, are sort of embedded in there. But this one's called Time Warp. Hold please, TTYL. Yeah, she'll be with you in a minute. 60, 59, 58, 57. The merry-go-round countdown starts where it ends, an alternate universe of waiting to exhale, not to release, but to speak. On the flip side of the moon, we circle back on a road to nowhere because time can't stand still, yet we continue to dangle, strangled while we wait on the other side of the telephone line. Perhaps we fantasize of trips to warm aisles and thrilling escapades, or maybe just rehearse what we're going to say. Either way, this reflective moment comes to a screeching halt once she picks up. Soft seconds now silenced and crammed down our throats. The toxic bile pours out barking orders and directives of things to keep us busy so we can feel important within this time warp. Just a moment, any minute now. He'll be with you right away. 1, 2, 3, 4. The twisted mind's third eye aims at hoops that suffocate like a noose around the neck. We love to say we can't catch a breath during the frantic daily grind, but did you ever ask yourself why you really have no free time? Interestingly, the studies say, even on paid vacation days when it's time to clock out, us Americans prefer to stay. In truth, we have around 40 hours per week to play. But look at us, meting out these increments piece by piece, clinging to seconds like ivy, scared to just let them be. Afraid we'll lose our place in the rat race to where now? Toying dangerously with time, the high price of production comes at a cost. When money is the bottom line, the soul state of you or me doesn't matter in our capitalist society. Ironically, time is not a private enterprise. It's an endless public resource that we never seem to tap. Probably because the law has got it commodified and brainwashed us good. Because even at rest, we continue to keep track, splicing our hours into halves and thirds, bleeding out moments we can't get back, not realizing that this math is absurd. On the reverse of the 45 are the busy bees and worker ants that scream, "Give me a break." If Nell Carter made the laws, it'd all be great. But she doesn't, and so free enterprise prevails. It seeps through our pores like a cold sweat we fear, and so we only took 16.2 days off this year. Yet even when tipped to one side like a seesaw at rest, we strive to conquer the work-life balance beam and iron out our wrinkles in time. The chance to do nothing, our ultimate dream. But guaranteed vacations aren't a thing in this nation. Blowing off steam from our coffee cup, that's our mini break time out for recreation. But hang on, I gotta know, work-life balance, doesn't that sound so retro? Like, wasn't that a women's fad 10 years ago? A hip term thrown around that hasn't been figured out yet? A cryptic code that we still haven't cracked? Workers still breaking their backs, only now it's their choice, fearing they'll miss out or lose if they choose otherwise, namely to snooze? So here's the conundrum I'm sure you've already figured out. The laws don't grant us enough time off. Well, it does in a few states, but the little breaks we get, we don't want to take, in case we lag behind or get replaced and thrown down the ladder. But the latter is no better than the first. Demands at work require we don't play. Wouldn't you rather be valued for your skills, with time off to reflect and come back stronger? Why not use every paid vacation day you've earned and let the air out of your tires so that when you return, you can feel like a multifaceted human and not just a person for hire? I'm a born and raised New Yorker. Woo woo. And I was born in Queens, and I lived in Queens for a little while before we moved further out into the island. And my dad and I have this tradition where we love tennis, and we used to go to the tennis matches. I think it's now Arthur Ashe Stadium, but over there every year when I was a kid. And this is a tradition that we still have to this day, so I love tennis. So this is my poem called What Serena Said. Round 1, midday sun, yellow globes flying high. It's anyone's game, who will remain, so few can survive. 80 degrees in NYC, specifically Queens has turned up the heat where kings like Billie Jean win to compete. Noble athletes there to even the score. This rat race transformed courts are in session. Bounce, then volley and service that's hot. Nike racerback tops, dry fit shorts, Adidas headbands and socks, soak in the steam released by pressure cooker screams. Grunts and trills raise street haze madness. Hardcourt concrete jungle, I smash it. Backhand topspin just left of the center line. 80 miles per hour aces to break the tie. 6-6 the 7 gets me there. Tracks on the purple line spit me out on the meadow green. White nets and racket strings set just right. Masters flushed traffic light red in the cheeks. Not pausing, no stopping, there is only the green. The traffic light guy and the referee set up too high to see. Sheer focus, transparently bent on not crossing the line, intent on winning, back spinning the crowd's blind. Lob shots and tweeners zinging so fast, first contact aces and slide drop shots sent back, unrelenting footwork and left-handed attacks. Pressure under fire, there is no retreat. Repose is for later in the dead of the night. Right now there's no escaping, one winner takes all. The sun blazes high, who wants it more? Remember Sampras, sick as a dog? He beat the heat then, now who will it be? 2017 rackets flying at top speed, bandanas soaked, caps dripping with sweat, eyes on the open, fans placing their bets. Hot as Hell's Kitchen, all burners ablaze, the glint of the cup teasing, reflecting their gaze. Rival to rival, one dream will go undone. That final dive on each side, their goal firmly rooted in sight. Game, set, match, it's too late not to look directly into the sun. In each of their mind's eye, it screams, I've won. Thank you. So water, we all need water, right? So this one's called One Eye Open. Videos of testimonials grant me a peek at the lives of strangers stranded dry by a polluted water supply, or else they've gone dead from depleted watersheds and Coca-Cola doesn't seem to mind. While I watch each mouth speak, wet tears of iodine run reckless down my cheeks. What if I could catch them through a sieve and fill large tanks, boasting to the brim with the blue gold that first began humanity's source basin? What if my tears, made pristine, could be poured, a special delivery that restored freshwater banks to their drinkable percentage of 3? Clean water would course again through parched veins, half dead, the sting of wetness crackling down wrinkled plains, where after deserted life recovers its beat. If some engineer could capture the tears I shed over that barren vista just up ahead, and hatch a majestic plan to reignite wet molecules with dry, so that running rampant inside dusty, deep-set lines is the rush of H2O's collective quiver, then believe me when I say that I would most certainly cry me a river. But since science hasn't yet found the way to realize my brilliant plan, and greater water demands wrought by industries deliberately deny basic water needs overseas, a simpler resuscitation of blue gold conservation is key. A wise woman once mentioned that we should just start asking the questions. Through faucet, drain, and hose, to where and where from does my water flow? Does one drop saved really make a change? And if I let it cascade at my tap, will I ever get it back? If asking these questions leads to doing one small thing, a teeny life adjustment, despite the deterrent knowledge that the answers bring, then maybe a little action will start a fervent chain reaction that crosses over oceans onto other shores and collectively returns us to a lifestyle choice that gently heals the imbalance from within. I could start this chain, ask a question and tell a friend. Then we could fix the drip our faucets leak. I could turn off the tap while I brush my teeth and save recycled rainwater from pavement's dead end. If I do all this and more, feed my gray water to the gardens outdoors, can I then say I helped save a family of 4? Slowly and slowly, as Pachamama would return to her former glory, maybe my grand vision will indeed come to fruition. An existence ensured, societies no longer at the brink of extinction, fingers and toes deeply dipped in preservation, eternally secured because of my one tiny act of water conservation. Thank you. All right, so like I said, I was born and raised in New York, and this is my love poem, my ode to NYC. Back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore, but some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. Back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore, but some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. Back in the day when I was young, New York City used to hum. Express trains dotted with tag names, masterpiece designs down West 4th on both sides. No matter where I turned my eyes, the buzz, the drive, and yes, the grit and the grime. You gotta know what I mean. You're magically seized and on a ride so high your heart's about to explode. And you just know. But you can't wait to know again. Every sense fired up like a volcano about to blow, deliriously overloaded from that New York City flow. Back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore, but some days I sit and wish I was a kid again, when shiny elevator doors opened me to the world beyond my backyard, and rounding the block meant mysterious surprises that were caramel popcorn sweet, because I never knew who or what I would greet, walking 60 blocks from 59th to Canal Street, the pulse of the city in sync with my own 2 feet. When escalators and trains led me down rabbit holes as wide as avenues, then spit me out on Bleecker or St. Mark's, where people were stranger than fiction and realer than real, when Alphabet City was a no-no and even the MoMA seemed cool. And there was no way Willy Wonka and his chocolate factory could ever compete with the delicious oddities splattered throughout NYC. Back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. My city has grown up with me, but I remained an artist, and it turned out to be different. Politicians, they had a good bone, intentions to sweep the streets clean. As a woman walking home alone, I don't disagree. But Mayor K, then Mayor D, then Mayor G and B scrubbed the sidewalks on bended knee continuously to the point of sterility, shiny and spotless, no longer grimy and dotted. Now monotone is in, elites are the new rage. Droning sounds, drab sights, and styles that look all the same promote blank, lazy stares instead of darting eyes everywhere, soaking in the buzz. Back in the days when I was young, but that was then and this is now, that other soul has been deposed. I hear she's living in the outer boroughs. Some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. I wish I could see New York City as it used to be. Just a little of that electricity plugged back in, like swerving taxis racing down city streets, through alleys and up towards the tips of skyscrapers, landing on the arches of the Brooklyn Bridge, howling towards the boroughs to pick up the pace, join the NYC rat race that rearranged spells art. I miss New York City. The one I felt through child's eyes, the pre-elite island thriving before my mayors robbed me blind. I miss that sizzle and snap, crackle, pop, that buzz I tapped into, my soul connected to a wave of every possibility. These were my classrooms, my mentors, my peers, that something invisible that whispered to me during those years, has quieted to a standstill, quite possibly mute. Erased and cleansed are the writings on the walls, spackled and primed pristine. I feel lucky to have lived back then, without my NYC time spent clocking the streets, my kid self enchanted, now manifest into me. I can't say who I'd be. But that was then, and this is now. Today I am humbled by the ancestors whose spirits may still roam and haunt those spots that were maybe missed by the mayor's finely threaded rags and mops. Forgotten places, still a bit grimy, a bit gritty, and all that jazz, making no kind of sense in this land. Maybe still faint tunes can be heard, luring the senses to reincarnate that magic that was once there, infusing a kid to dream big and inhale. Thank you. Just a couple more. So I got fascinated by parks and by recreation spaces. I love a good hike. So I learned a lot about parks. I too went to teachers college. So I had to do some research, and I just got into this. And I'm also a filmmaker, so this is dedicated to all you movie buffs. Let's see if you know what I mean. Click, click, snap, been there, done that, said the dad into his caravan, tires peeling away to their next stop, Wonderland. I stand still in disbelief at the drive-by, at the many pairs of eyes whose total recall will only be pixelated grains, while I, enthralled by the glorious vista splayed out underneath my feet, remain. While I take in the air so sweet, while I hear the wind whipping at the leaves, while I touch ancient stones formed by the earth's core heat. Foreigners get me. They spend way more time in the American wilderness than Mom and that pop who just captured the shot for Biff and Jane to post as they swerved away on their National Lampoon's vacation. Might as well call it a staycation. So much for recreation. What would the Griswolds say? These snap and click quick trips in the great outdoors are today's version of the perfect holiday, but I say it's paradise lost. We live in fast times, heeding the rush down the information superhighway whose digital landscape claims more eyes than Yosemite these days. And while I too snap and chat and post and Insta, I differ. Because I knew time before the internet consumed, and after my Jackie Chan outlines weren't questioned should I choose to walk barefoot in the park. See, I studied the 19th century price of park admission. Like a reverse prison entrance was a pipe dream for the working class and chocolate powder who remained outside. Back in those days, the alleys filled with kids playing stickball and jump rope while the laundry above dried on the line. There was no access for those tenement residents who chose the grayest of city life. Weekends for them meant cramming the family into a one-room box, praying the night winds breeze cool through their window screens, because the smokestacks were stifling the littlest ones, Thelma and Louise. Good old Teddy would have had you believe he, Muir, and Burrow saved the last frontier, but only let in were the milky white, rich, full-fat cream. Eyes wide shut were the clan that strolled and grazed in the greens. But even down to the last tenement toddler, it was known those national and urban parks were being used as political fodder. After some time, the public health issues strolled in. But don't get it twisted, it was just about tycoons and politicians who saw their productivity become constricted. Dips, drops, and lulls presented a clear and present danger to their bottom line. So mental burnout was remedied by opening the gates. Green spaces for workers to regenerate? It was cheaper by the dozen than meds and unpaid sick days. Alas, green begot green in the greatest heist the 19th century had seen. Then came the pull bars and flat benches, paced strategically between 8-mile tracks and a few trees that Moses built to have you believe those baseball fields and concert arches were not his attempt to monetize the greens. So what am I saying? Is Union Square now a no-no to wag the dog? No, of course not. It's just that once upon a time, even single white females in parks with sunbrellas were strategic moves made by self-made men, white players who controlled the entire chessboard and left half the pieces outside. Now the haves and have-nots can all picnic in the park, sit on the great lawn and gossip or drink sweet tea and lemonade. Although I do have to say, I'm saddened that I still see the park used as just a shortcut these days. Instead of like Baraka, Koyaanisqatsi, and me, the three musketeers who savor the land before time. Woo! I guess understanding the true backbone of park history is important to me so that I won't let it rot so easily. Because I know that all that came to bear for this Indian middle-class woman to step wherever I like, I appreciate the gifts my park gives me, though man-made some of it may be. Well, thanks for listening to my rant and have a good night. What? I'm not done. You're still here? Oh, go take a hike. Thank you. This is the last one, and I need your participation. I need your help. So this is a call and response. So basically, I'm going to say something, and you're going to say something back to me. So I'm going to say, "Are you with me?" And you're going to say, "Yeah, I'm with you." And this is a poem from 2008. So just you might hear that in the poem somehow. But I'm going to say, "Are you with me?" And you're going to say, "Yeah, I'm with you." So let's try it out. Are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Visum-active, 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 visum-activism. Are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Then stand up, stand up. Ubita, no siéntate. Me want to know what you did for we today. Stand up, stand up. Ubita, no siéntate. Me want to know what you did for we today. Lately, I've been walking down New York City streets. Left and right, looking around, this is what I see. Pickets and pockets of pickets of 2, 5, and 9, chanting, "Get the man, we need a better plan, we need a better life." It makes for great TV, if it even makes it on TV. But tell me how this gets us to a greater unity? Because unless you got a bomb and dressed in what is feared, sit-ins and shutouts and marches to protest are the ancestral antidotes that our flower children confounded the government with. It's old, it's passé, because it's 2008 and we're the spawn of the mundane, the day-to-day. Our higher thinking minds eroded by Fox 5 and Desperate Housewives. The collective outcry, the bigger wave, the consistent constituency intent on commitment has lost its sting. Are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Our comfort zones reside inside a bubble of apathy. Yeah, some of us have burst through within this new political game, but when January hits and the new president claims reign, is it back to our cushy chair again? And what about the environment? Mother Earth is going to die. The nasty cancer we've put inside her has begun to show the signs. If you say it doesn't matter that I left that bottle on the train or forgot to recycle the newspapers and use styrofoam cups again, if the small steps you take make you feel powerless and spent, then know that I too get frustrated that some corporations wasted my conservation attempts. And what about poverty? The fact that it exists and all the children our senseless education system has put at risk. It's easier to succumb to the concerns of our everyday, to focus on ourselves, to blank out, to feel numb. But don't you feel that collective outrage in the small corner of your soul? Don't you recognize competing with your iPod, that faint ringing in your ears as the scream from every piercing pain that vibrates through your tears? I want to move to action and form a daisy chain. But am I really changing things? My one voice seems so small. How we live today requires schemes that are savvier than before. And even if our voices make a link, will we become a thundering, effective roar? Can a daisy cure it all? How do we reclaim the sting that propels us towards consistently doing things? Because if we all feel so small rather than so big, and we choose to let impotency flutter its wings, then what do I tell my unborn child's child? What kind of earth will be there waiting? Will it be in baby steps? squeezing in a minute or two. Maybe it's by shifting focus, imagining what it'd be like to live in a land with checkpoints and a curfew where gunshots outside windows lull children to sleep. What if I promise you, will you promise me to redirect our gaze from whatever technology is glued to our cheeks? Is any of that strong enough to achieve what I seek? It's not an easy fight to get even one person to want change. And then what's tougher is to discover together the most successful way. But in my faith, there is hope, and I know I'm not alone. If we can band together, and not just for one time, we might make a big enough dent to keep intact all that is important. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Are you with me?
Yeah.
Are you with me?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Awesome. How do you feel? It's a great night of art, great night of celebration of different voices here in Highland Park. Thanks to Highland Park Arts Commission and thanks to the Borough Council. Join us on October 28th. We are co-sponsoring Water is Life. It is an art exhibition that's going to be going on, but the opening night is October 28th. There are postcards on the table. November 2nd is the Book Arts Workshop. Make your own book that you can populate with words or with images or just look at the pretty book. And then I'm running an improv workshop for anyone who's interested.
I just want to interrupt to say, Pandora pulled together all of this technical stuff up here, and it's really one of the best chairmen of the Art Commission. 28 years. And so please give her a hand. And thank you, and Miriam Lefkowitz is
Yeah.
technical in the
Thank
back
you so
also.
much, Miriam, and HPTV. And thank you to all the poets, and thank you to you for showing up. Please tell your friends, your neighbors about the Highland Park Arts Commission. We are really trying to bring more and more and more arts opportunities for the artists in the town and also for the general public to enjoy the arts in the town. So if you believe in that, reach out to the council, reach out to the mayor, tell them you love this and you want more of it. Reach out to me, become part of the commission. We have some spots open. And, you know, have a great night. I just want to share this haiku that I wrote when I first came out. I thought I was straight, and I was living as a straight woman for 29 years. And then I had a baby, and she inspired me to get real with myself. And when I got real with myself, I realized that there was way more inside of me than I even realized. And so I wrote this haiku. Universe expands into what we do not know. So I do as well. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.